Okay, another thing you might want to do in this assignment is to not draw a circle, as I did in the first sample, but to actually draw an image. If you've done the game elements sprites or drawing images badge, you already know how to do this, but just in case you did it in a different order, because it doesn't really matter which order you do these particular badges in, I'm going to show you the quick basics of this, but it's covered in much more detail in that other badge. So the first thing is I find a graphic on the internet, and so I've got this here frog, and I'm going to copy the URL where this frog comes from. And I'm going to make a variable up here. I'm going to call it, frog. That sounds good to me. And I am going to say, let's load the image. And we need a string right here of the website that we need to get the frog from. So right in here, I want to paste. I always do this part first so that it's easy for me just to paste in right between those two quote marks what it is I want to do. So I'm going to paste that in. And now it's really long, but that doesn't matter to me because as long as it works. And then I need two pieces. Again, this is covered elsewhere, but you could say that I need to get the width of the frog and I need to know the height of the frog. These are things I need to know in order for it to draw properly. And even though I need to know them, or I need to tell the computer them, the computer can find out itself with this little method where it actually goes and looks at the image and says, oh, well, here's its height and width. But I still need those in a variable to make my life easier. So I come down here, and basically instead of drawing a circle, I'll just comment out my circle. Instead of doing that, I'm going to draw an image instead. This is a bit confusing, this next part. So let me create a little helper thing to remind myself of what I need to do. First, I need to say, excuse me, I need to say what image I want to draw on the screen. Then I need to say the center point of that image. Then I need to say the original image's width and height. Then I need to say the location on the screen that I want to put the frog. So location X and Y. And then I want to say the height and width that I want to draw the frog. So you could call that the scaled width and height. So let's just run through this then. I want to draw a frog. The center point of my frog is the middle of its width and the middle of its height. So I'm going to take frog W divided by 2. Take frog height divided by 2. I want to take the width and the height of the frog. Well, that's easy. That's the exact same thing we just did without the divide by 2. I want to take where I want to put it on the screen. So now that, like when I put my circle on the screen, I put it at CXCY. I could rename these, FX and FY to make more sense for a frog, but basically it's the same thing. This is where I want to put it. And then the scaled height and width. Well, that just depends on how big the frog is. So if I look over here, and I look at this frog, that's a pretty big frog. So if I put this at full size, it's going to take up my whole screen. Let's start by doing that. So there we go. It just fits into the screen. So I'm going to just do that. If I run it and I get an error, that's okay, depending on the error. You'll get this error a lot when you load images. It says the frog's dimensions must be greater than 0. When I first run the program, it's still trying to load the frog from the website. And so it says to go get the image or go get the width, and it can't because it hasn't loaded fully. So you get this error sometimes the first time you run it. So you just run it again. See, this time it actually found it. So here I am in my program, and I can hit W and make my frog go up. But because he's so huge, that's kind of silly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe divide this. He was quite large. What happens if I divide him by 4? So I want a quarter of his original size. and I run that. He's still pretty big, but at least this is better. So you could just play with this and get the size that you want when you're putting, depending on what image you put on. You use the same one as me. Maybe you want to make them a little smaller yet. But that is how to draw an image, so you can have some fun putting images on here that you can move around.